Honey the cat is a character that has, at least in my opinion, a really outsized level of relevance in the Sonic community. She pops up with surprising regularity for a character that doesn't really exist in the official games, being removed from the original arcade version of Sonic the Fighters, and only showing up as a secret character in the 2012 Xbox 360 re-release of the game. Despite that, she has still gained a mod in SRB2, developed by none other than Lightdasser. That's to tell you all you need to know about how good I think this character is, considering how much I've gushed over Lightdasser's previous mods. Part of the reason I stayed away from covering Honey until today is because the first thing you see on her forum page is that the character is specifically designed for Battle Mod, a mode to the game that I haven't played, don't know anything about, and have no interest in downloading. No one's on SRB2 servers where I'm from, I can't play any online mode. Having actually tested her though, I think she actually works pretty well as a single player character, and that trepidation I had about covering her really wasn't necessary. You do need to map Custom 1 to something to get anywhere near her full potential, and by extension you need a control layout that actually complements pressing Custom 1 and the jump spin buttons in quick succession, but upon doing that, she is a fun character to mess around with. Spin is the butt bop, the quick, grounded attack option that travels a short distance and can break buster balls, bandnicks, spikes, and empower springs. Out of all of her abilities, this is the most isolated, having nothing to really do with the rest, and is probably mostly here just to have something to fill out the grounded spin button command. Spinning after jumping will cause you to perform a stomp, although this is a bit odd in the stomp ground pound ability space for requiring a brief stall before dropping, before causing all of the usual effects of a ground pound ability. I don't get why this stalling needs to exist, because it's nowhere near long enough to ever affect you potentially overshooting a platform, but it is just long enough to cause you to almost never be able to land on an enemy if you had any momentum while performing it. I think it's unnecessary, and the ability could be improved by simply removing it entirely. Now, every other move Honey has at her disposal requires the Custom 1 button, which is an indicator that the move will start depleting Honey's energy meter, indicated by these floating feather wing things above her head, which will deplete with each one of these abilities used before regenerating after being grounded for long enough. They all mostly combo into one another, and make up the bulk of her unique and more advanced movement options and possibilities. The first meter ability is the Moon Kick, an attack ripped straight from a Fighting Viper's lineage. A very high jump upwards, you need to press Custom 1 to crouch before jumping, and then remember the ability also travels slightly backwards, so orient yourself accordingly. Alternatively, you can also gain some horizontal distance using your meter by way of your pounce, usually performed by jumping twice, although you can use it after your Moon Kick by pressing Custom 1 and spin. These two abilities combined are what can make Honey really go the distance when comboed together or with other abilities, but their similar input command can definitely take some getting used to. Honey's forum page also seems to suggest that pressing jump twice to perform a pounce should still work after performing a Moon Kick, or at least makes no mention of it not working this way, but this command was never recognised in this context. Considering my history of controller problems though, I am willing to chalk this up to a probable problem on my end. Finally, Honey's last two major abilities are the Ukemi and the Hyper Mode. The Ukemi is an action they've been taken after getting hit with a full meter ready, allowing you to press Custom 1 to quickly jump out of the way of nearby enemies and give yourself a few frames of invincibility, albeit at the cost of your whole meter. This is probably the ability that I'd have to most assume makes more sense in Battle Mod, where there's a lot more chaotic brawling going on and quick escapes from combat situations might actually be necessary, but in single player, this really doesn't change things. You're already invincible after getting hit, there is never enough chaos going on to really necessitate the quick escape, and if you do use the Ukemi, you're only launching yourself away from your drop rings and into potentially more dangers like spikes or bombless pits, as the invincibility, again, only lasts a few frames. Finally, pressing Custom 1, spin and jump all at once will cause you to enter Hyper Mode. This is not a reference to Hypersonic, which would be bizarrely out of place here, but rather the Hyper Mode mechanic from Sonic the Fighters, where you will lose some of your shields but gain a big boost to your speed. That's pretty much what happens here, except in single player you lose 20 rings instead of some shields, and the faster attack speed is replaced by an infinite meter for 10 seconds. Saying it out loud, it's actually nothing like the Sonic the Fighters incarnation at all, but can be used to great effect in certain areas, mostly for chaining together pounces to cover much larger gaps than you usually should be able to cross. Sprites here are great. Nothing less should be expected from a light data mod. The sprites look really good and quite imaginative for a character that really doesn't have many appearances to base animations on, so Honey displays a lot of generic cat-like tendencies. I especially like her expression when she starts to run on all fours, makes her look like a little gremlin. Considering she's a fashion designer, it makes sense that there's a lot of command options that allow you to customize individual parts of her sprites interchangeably. I'm no expert on the matter, but from what I can tell, the commands shown in the screenshot seem to allow you to customize her hair, skin and dress colours all separately, allowing you to make a lot of variations, as seen in the provided image. If you don't want to bother going through the hassle of making your own design, however, you can use this command to automatically turn yourself into Honey's alternate form from Sonic the Fighters, Candy, who has her own super form sprites as well. The only real poor area of the graphics department isn't even really in the game itself, but I'm not the biggest fan of Honey's character art. Something about it looks off. I think it's how her proportions don't look quite right. To be fair, this has been the only real graphical problem for me with Light Dash's mods, and it only rears its head occasionally. As well as I don't like Honey and Surge's character art, Tango's and Whisper's both look really good. It's just one of those things. Finally, just to quickly mention it, she does have some custom music upon entering Hyper Mode, composed by Ray C. Apparently, it's a reference to fighting Vipers, but I've never played that game, so if you have, please tell me what it's based on. Overall, Honey is the typical Light Dash mod. Great sprites bring out the best in a character with a single gimmick their entire moveset is based off of. Think Casey's boxing attacks, Whisper's Wisp-on modes, Tango's tail, or Surge's charges. Here, that's the meter, which provides some level of strategy to when to use her most powerful abilities. There are a few hiccups here and there, like some slightly confusing control schemes and an unnecessary stalling for a stomp, and it's clear that some abilities were designed mainly for battle mod, like the Ukemi. Can't knock Honey any points for that. The mod page disclaims that right at the very beginning, and even with that in mind, I think she still deserves a 9 out of 10. I hope you enjoyed the video, and ciao.